Chica. So I came on today to talk all about what to do when you've screwed up on the HCG diet. It's going to happen most likely, hopefully not this round, hopefully not, but at some point or another, if you have a lot of weight to lose, you're most likely going to make at least one mistake. So, rather than dwell on the bummerness of it all, let's focus on what you can do. Obviously you can't uneat whatever you ate, but there are definitely things that you can do to minimize, and get past the mistake as quickly as possible. So a lot of times a person's first line of defense in their head when they cheat is to do an apple day. I just kind of want to mention why I don't think it's necessarily the best choice for following up a cheat. Certainly you can do it if you choose, but this is kind of my take on it. Here's the thing. Apples, especially like 4 to 6 apples, they actually have a lot of two things, which is carbs and sugar. In fact, I'm doing a post specifically on apple days soon, and one little breakdown I can give you: in 6 medium apples, there's actually 114 grams of sugar and 123 grams of net carbs. So I've already taken out the fiber carbs. We know those don't count. That's net carbs, still 123 grams. And if you compare that to a regular VLCD day that I detail out in the Apple Day post coming up, that would only be like maybe 32 grams of sugar versus 114 for an apple day, and 38 grams of net carbs versus 123. So basically an apple day could potentially have 3 to 4 times more sugar and carbs than a regular VLCD. So I'm just kind of showing you guys that to put it into perspective. So back to cheating and what we do after cheating. So being that that's what an apple day entails, and also of course no real protein, most likely on the day that you cheated, you probably had also a lot of sugar, carbs, probably other stuff, fat, things like that, but most likely there's sugar and carbs that, were a part of that cheat. So to me, the fastest way to get past that and to clear your system out, putting an apple day in there just doesn't seem to make sense, because now you're just having another day of high carb, high sugar, no real protein. And so to me, that doesn't seem like you're helping your body, get back to fat burning. So that's just kind of my take on it. I'm not against apple days, just specifically for this purpose, I don't think it makes the most sense. So let's move on to how I fix a cheat on HCG, because I'm not perfect either. So I have had more than one day on the protocol when I ended up being completely off. So it took me a while to figure this out, but I eventually came to the conclusion that doing a period of, say 2 to 3 days of super clean eating on VLCD was the best way for me to reverse a cheat as quickly as possible. And by that, I mean eating the protein and the vegetables, and actually completely eliminating the fruits and the melba. Most people don't eat the melba grissini anyway, but for those of you who do, so you would actually take that out and the fruits entirely. What you would do, because that's a lot of calories, right? I'm not telling you guys to eat even far less calories or anything, but what you can do is replace the calories from the fruit and the grissini with like more P2 veggies, or, now I have to warn you guys, this is a little bit off protocol, or you could replace it with a little bit of 0% fat-free Greek yogurt. The Fage brand is F-A-G-E. That particular brand has low sugar. You definitely want to check the sugar content, because some of the fat-free yogurts have a lot of sugar. So I will actually sometimes do a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of the yogurt with some stevia in place of a P2 fruit. Now the purpose in doing this is to basically get your body back to the fat burning mode as quickly as possible, and like I said, to get rid of that excess carb and sugar intake that you had, getting your body's like helping burn through that faster. It's so if you're eating more sugar and carbs like on an apple day, your body's going to be using that for fuel, right? It's why will it use your fat when it has all of this sugar and carbs. It's going to use that first. So that's why I felt like it made more sense to actually remove that for a few days, and just, yeah, helps your body use up any excess stuff as fast as possible, get back to fat burning, you know, so that you're actually getting smaller. And the other reason that it's a good thing in my mind is because it'll help with any cravings that have been caused as a result of, you know, caving into whatever it was you caved to, because that's another thing. When you eat carbs and sugar, it starts cravings, and then when you take it out, there can be a little withdrawal. So I feel like that way you're also minimizing that whole experience and just moving past it as fast as possible. So I've done the clean eating this way, and I feel that it works very well. I've actually done this way of eating on HCG for like entire rounds, not just to follow a cheat where I don't eat the fruit or the grissini and I eat extra vegetables instead, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, so that's my favorite way to fix it, and that might be something you like to try. And if you try it and it works well for you, I'd love to hear from you as well. You can email me, hCGChica at hCGChica.com, and you can just, you know, tell me how that worked for you. The other thing that's always mentioned, of course, is to drink enough water. You know, just, again, clearing your system out. But you can actually drink too much water, and sometimes I feel like we talk so much about drinking a lot of water, and of course the word a lot is relative, right? It's not like a specific amount. And, you know, some of us may take that to mean not enough. By however much we choose to drink. We think it's a lot, but maybe it's not. And then some of us, we are like, oh, that means 2 gallons, you know, and then we're just drinking so much water. And there's been more than one HCGer who is actually kind of getting messed up, like not losing weight, kind of gaining weight, and having some issues with water weight because of course, if you drink the right amount, you will shed water weight, but if you get your electrolyte balance off, and you're drinking too much water, it can mess things up, and I mean, actually you can die, but hopefully I don't think any of us are going to be that extreme. But anyway, I'm going to link to just a little article that I wrote about that topic just to help keep things in perspective, because, you know, some of us are very dedicated, and, you know, we might be drinking gallons and gallons of water, and, you know, within reason, of course it's healthy, but, you know, also I want to make sure to present the other side of it where you don't want to actually do too much. So just definitely drink a good amount, but if you squeeze some lemon in it, that will help replace electrolytes, you know, stuff like that, and just keep it in balance. So let's talk now about why it is good to avoid future cheating. You guys know that I don't believe in the whole guilt thing. I think it's really important that, you know, rather than dwell on mistakes that you've made and feeling bad about it, to make a plan and move on from that. And I firmly believe in that. And, you know, for those of us who've done 2 to 3 rounds of HCG at least, I'd venture to say that, I don't know, 99% have made at least one slip up during the course of their weight loss journey. You know, each round is 3 to 6 weeks. Life happens during that time. Changing your relationship with food is a huge deal, and that's often what's going on when you're on the protocol. And sometimes you're not prepped for that. You don't realize that that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up in this, you know, psychological boot camp for your relationship with food until you're on it. You know, you realize, like, wow, I can't eat, and I realize there's reasons I want to eat even if I'm not hungry. So there's just all this going on. So, you know, screw-ups are going to happen. Just looking at my own journey, I can't say exactly the stats, but I definitely had, well, my second round was the whole thing was just one big screw up, cheat, horrible. You know, that one, I just crossed that one off my list. That one was, I had to basically redo that one. But so that one we can leave out. But even among my other rounds, I probably had, you know, 4 to 5 days total out of the other 4 rounds that I wasn't on protocol, and I, you know, whatever I did, maybe I called it a mini load, whatever, but really I was just cheating, and I didn't necessarily need to, obviously, but it's what I did. You know, I made a poor choice. But the thing is it didn't prevent me from getting to my ultimate goal. And that's what counts. You know, obviously it took me a little longer, you know, because I had to fix those mistakes, but I still got to my ultimate goal. The thing is it's still good, you know, despite not wanting to feel bad about what happened and moving on. I mean, that's all good, of course. But it's still good to talk about, you know, why cheating on HCG is such a bad thing. why we should try to avoid it, because definitely if cheating becomes perpetual or like a chronic thing, I do think it's a big concern, not just because you won't get anywhere, you know, you'll just keep losing and gaining the same 20 pounds or whatever. Of course that's discouraging, but even more than that, I do think you can harm your health if you keep, you know, we know yo-yo dieting isn't good, right? Yo-yo dieting on HCG to me is even worse. It's just something you don't want to do. I really think you can mess up your different hormone systems. So, you know, a cheat here and there as you get through the process, fine, you can still get to your goal. But if it becomes a chronic thing, I would be concerned just about, you know, long-term health. And of course, just the fact that, you know, you want to actually get somewhere for all of that hard work and effort. So let's talk about, there's actually two things that I have in mind when it comes to why cheating on HCG especially is kind of worse than just cheating on some other diet. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that it seems like fat gain happens faster on HCG than off of it for the same amount of calories or fat grams ingested. So take all of this part with a grain of salt, because this is kind of just more, I don't know, a little more just my theory or observation, but I don't think there's much proof about it. Just kind of when you look at the different factors, you know, that I'm going to talk about, it makes it seem as if fat gain happens faster on HCG. So we know that on HCG, it seems that you lose a higher rate of fat, a higher amount of fat, I should say, when you're on the protocol in that given time period, right? So if you weren't taking HCG, like you wouldn't lose as much fat, you'd lose more muscle, and it also would come off in different places. You know, somehow when you're on HCG, it seems to pull fat from difficult to lose areas. I have personally experienced that and seen it in many cases. So, but the fact that it makes fat volatile in that way, it seems that it goes both ways. So not only does fat go out more easily, I feel like it also comes in more easily. So, and that's kind of why I feel like Dr. Simeon's was so strict when he was like, no fats, no oils, you know, make sure you remove any piece of fat you see on the meat, not getting stuff on your hands. And, you know, perhaps that theory will be completely disproved at some point, but for now, I still stand by that. It's not going to hurt you, and I still am very leaning towards that it does affect you in that way. The other thing to think about is the fact that, you know, if you eat 1,000 calories on HCG, you either just maintain your weight or you gain weight, which is crazy, right? It's normally, for me, I would lose weight eating 1,000 calories a day. Yeah, on HCG, if I do that, I gain weight. So again, it's like the HCG is interacting with your body in a different way. And that's why, you know, doing the right things with the protocol will produce extra good results. But doing the wrong things on the protocol, which what I mean by that is taking in fats specifically or too many calories, can also produce extra bad results than normally. So, you know, in normal day-to-day life, I probably eat 2,500 calories or maybe 3,000. It varies, you know, but yeah, definitely I would definitely not gain weight on 1,000 calories. But with HCG, that's a common thing for people to notice, where they're just kind of minimally cheating throughout the round, and by the end of it, they've hardly lost anything. So I just think that that's really interesting, and I just feel that that shows we need to treat HCG and this protocol with the respect that it deserves, that it can achieve a lot, but if we don't respect it and how it operates, which we don't completely understand exactly how everything's operating with it, but if we don't respect that, we can hurt our body. So basically what my concern with cheating on HCG, especially consecutively, like too much, is I think you might potentially mess up your muscle to fat ratio on your body. So you know, like with your body, you're made up of a certain amount of fat and a certain amount of muscle, right? And that's your body fat percent. Whatever your body fat percent, that shows you how many pounds of fat you have on your body. So like for me right now, I'm 125 pounds about. I'm 18% body fat, which means about 22 pounds of me is fat. The rest of me is water, muscle, and all my organs. So my concern is, you know, when you're losing weight on HCG, the idea is really that you're losing mostly fat. And I've seen that in many cases. My own fat loss, I've had, I think my highest was 88% fat, you know, that was lost. And then of course there was some water and a small amount of muscle. And I've had another interview, I'll actually link to it, with Sabrina. She lost, I think 90 or 95% fat out of all the weight she lost in one round, which was amazing. So my concern is if you are losing a certain amount of fat, but then you gain, because you cheat, and you gain fat, then you have to lose it, right? So then a couple days go by where you have to lose that. But I guess I'm a little worried that in that process, the ratio gets off, whereas in like maybe you end up losing a little more muscle when you re-lose the cheat weight, meaning that now, say you've lost 15 pounds total, originally 12 of it was fat or 13 of it was fat, but now only 11 of it is, or something. I don't know. Again, this is all kind of theory, but it's just my concern, and it can only do you good to do the protocol the correct way, right? So maybe in the future we'll find out like, oh yeah, doing fats doesn't change anything about your fat loss. And you know, there are people who say that, but I haven't actually seen any proof of that yet. So that's why I just don't feel comfortable recommending that, because if you totally screw up your, you know, there's people my weight who have 30% body fat. That's a lot more pounds of fat on the same body size than I have. So, and that makes a huge health difference. So the idea is we really want to be in control of losing fat and keeping our muscle. And I fear that cheating can, you know, too much on HCG can really mess up that ratio. So that's my concern with that. So now the second thing that I want to talk about in regards to why cheating isn't a good idea is kind of the bigger one you guys are going to relate more to, is just that you're wasting time and you're getting nowhere in exchange for a lot of time and effort on the protocol. Because let's face it, even eating 800 calories or 900 calories a day for weeks on end, you know, is not a walk in the park. You know, it's like, in fact, I have a little picture I'm going to show you of what it's like. Yeah, so it's like walking through a muddy puddle in high heels. It's like no one wants to live on 1,000 calories a day. So it's like you're cheating, so you're getting to eat a little more, but you're still hardly losing any weight, or it's not nearly as much as you could have lost, and you're still miserable, you know, because 1,000 calories still doesn't cut it. So either way, you're going to be putting in a lot of effort. Additionally, when you consistently kind of fall short of your own expectations, it's really demoralizing, right? It just doesn't feel well emotionally to feel like that. So every day you have this goal of eating around 500 calories, and then if you're consistently just always going past that and going against what you had kind of planned, it can really not feel well. And so this whole thing, regardless of how you do the protocol, it's a lot. It's a lot for you to handle mentally, and you don't want to have to get to the end of it and hardly have achieved anything, you know. My second round that I talked about that was, you know, totally just messed up, I did still manage to lose, I don't know if it was maybe 20 pounds or 16 or 17 pounds in the 6-week period. But like I said, the way I went about it wasn't good. I was trying out all these random like online sugar-free fiber cookies that had erythritol, and I was eating a bunch of those instead of, you know, vegetables and meat. Not a good trade, and stuff like that, you know. So it just wasn't good, and it was just the whole thing was bad. I should have just ended the round early, which is really what I suggest people do if they find themselves starting to perpetually cheat on the diet. You know, you either have to get your brain back on it and just really get back to being strict. And if you can't do that, it's okay. But just realize, okay, I need to stop. I need to abort mission, you know, abort the round early and come back to it when you are more mentally ready again. I think it takes a strong person, I think, actually, to admit that they're not ready to handle something at that time for whatever reason. You know, there's always multiple things going on in life, right? Sometimes things come up in life. When I watch everybody's YouTube vlogs, crazy things happen. You know, you plan your round and everything's going fine, and all of a sudden your boyfriend leaves you, or someone's divorcing you, or someone has to go to the emergency room, and or somebody starts to die, and crazy things happen. And sometimes, you know, you might keep trucking on and manage to do it, but if you find yourself really struggling, rather than hurt yourself by doing the protocol wrong for the majority of it, just stop and set it aside for a time when things are, you know, a little more low-key again. One little thing that I thought of to liken what cheating on HCG, especially over and over, can do is if you'll picture in your mind someone jogging on a treadmill at 10 miles per hour while trying to eat a $50 catered lunch at the same time. So, big mess, right? In fact, I have a picture to show you guys. So that's my little stick figure. So anyway, so obviously it just doesn't make sense, right? It's like, how much time did it take you to make that $50 to pay for that lunch? And then of all times, you choose that time when you're jogging on the treadmill to try to eat it. You know, it's just such a waste. So that's the thing with HCG. You spent the money, you set aside the time to do it. It takes a lot of planning, all this mental effort. So you don't want it to be a big waste if it doesn't have to be. Now, sometimes it is going to be a waste, right? My second round was a waste. So sometimes it happens, you know, and if that's the case, you know, that's why you have to do either what we talked about earlier by fixing the cheat or stopping and starting another time. But if you think this to yourself and you know these things and why it's not a good idea, that might help you when the situations come up to stand a little stronger, realizing what's at stake, and that this is only 3 to 6 weeks. Although, in all honesty, it feels like forever. It feels like forever, right, when you're on it. So I kind of hate to say that because, it's only 3 to 6 weeks is just not the right terminology when you're really in it. But anyway, I hope that helps you guys a little bit. And again, to fix a cheat, for what I like to do anyway, is to do the clean eating, no fruit, no Melba, replace those calories with more P2 veggies, and or, again, this is off protocol, a little bit of fat-free Greek yogurt with like a little stevia or something. That's what I would do for, you know, a few days. To me, that gets things going again. The last thing that I want to talk about before I close here is don't let a mistake dictate the overall outcome of your journey. That's the biggest thing I want to tell you guys. I have eaten pork chops sauteed in butter, you know, on my 5th round. I didn't intend to do that, but I ended up doing that one day, and I chose to do it. I was trying not to, and I ended up doing it anyway. I ate a bunch of cashews, you know, so I've made mistakes on the protocol, but it didn't prevent me from getting to a final goal and from maintaining my weight loss long term. I did have to change my overall way of living when it comes to eating and my lifestyle, but I didn't make that change overnight. It happened gradually, and there were those mess ups along the way, but I still got to the goal. And it's because I didn't allow those times when I made mistakes to make me feel like that's all I was capable of. That's what allowed me to move past them and to continue trying and working on changing and getting better and better at it. So again, I just want to reiterate it, you know, don't let a mistake dictate the outcome of your round and your whole weight loss journey. When you make a bad choice one day, that doesn't mean that you're a failure or that you don't have what it takes to succeed. That doesn't mean that at all. People who succeed, they fail at times, or seemingly fail. Some people don't even believe in using the word fail. I'm just using it because it's a word and people know what I mean by that. But I kind of agree with that mentality that it's not really a failure. It's basically, it's a part of the process that you realize you're going to make mistakes, that you can learn from that and continue changing. Every time I made mistakes, it hit home again that this is not what I want for my life. I was miserable when I was still dealing with my binge eating disorder, and I felt trapped in it, and I was miserable. And you know, as I made these changes, and then at times I slipped back a couple times, it hit home. It reminded me, no, this is a horrible place to be, and I don't want this. So then I pick myself back up, you know, and chug along, and I'm so much happier. I see how much more capable and how much more useful I am to my family in my current state than where I was at. And those points along the way, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm glad I screwed up. I kind of wish that I could have somehow done it perfectly, but that's just not realistic. So realizing that that's a part of it can help you to keep going when those things happen. So you have to continue to believe in yourself despite mistakes. Mistakes happen to everybody. I think that's the thing that and you know, I'm kind of young, I'm 32, so I'm, you know, still learning about life and everything. I feel like I've learned so much these last few years, but I think that's something that I used to think to myself, like as if I was the only one who made mistakes like this, and that other people who got to their goals, like they never made those mistakes. But that's actually not the case. So we have to eliminate that sensation that like, oh, I'm the only one who has these types of troubles with doing the right thing. Everybody does. It's just the people who succeed, they realize that that's a part of it. And so because of realizing that, they're able to just pick themselves up and keep working at it, and knowing that they will succeed if they stick to it, and that, yeah, those mess ups don't mean anything about them as a person. So that's what we have to realize about ourselves. So lastly, stay tuned, because we're gonna have one more video about cheating, and that is what to do if you know you're going to cheat type thing. So we're gonna have a whole post talking about basically doing things off protocol in a smarter way so that you can minimize damage that's done. You know, I'm not trying to encourage cheating at all, but I'm just being realistic. It's impossible for most people to be completely perfect all the time. This is such a process of change, not just bodily, but mentally. So we might as well discuss the things that come up and how to possibly, you know, deal with little breakdowns and stuff in a smarter way so that you can limit the damage that's done from cheating. So we will talk about the next. You can find me on Facebook, HCGChica, on Instagram, HCGChica, and those are the main two places. You can find me on Twitter too. And yeah, that's it. Of course, my blog, hcgchica.com. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.